When was the last time you actually checked your bank account? Like, really looked at it and felt good about what you saw? Not just, okay, I can pay rent this month. I mean, genuinely good. Like, yeah, I'm building something here. For most people watching this right now, that feeling is rare. And if it's not rare for you, stick around anyway, because what I'm about to show you might change the way you think about money completely. See, there's this thing most people never talk about, and I think it's the most important framework for understanding why some people build real wealth and most people just survive. And it's not about how much you earn. It's not about your job title. It's not even about how smart you are with numbers. It's about which level of wealth you're actually operating at. And here's the brutal truth. Most people never make it past level 2. Some people spend their entire lives convinced they're on the right path, working hard, doing all the right things, and they still die broke. Not because they were lazy, not because they were dumb, but because nobody ever showed them the map. So today, I'm going to show you the map. There are 5 wealth levels, and I'm going to walk you through every single one, what it looks like, what it feels like, and most importantly, what keeps people stuck there. Because the crazy thing is, the wall between each level isn't always money. Sometimes it's a mindset, sometimes it's a habit, and sometimes it's one decision that you didn't even know was a decision. Let's start at the beginning. Level 1 is what I call the survival zone. And look, there's no shame in this. Almost everyone starts here. This is where your income barely covers your expenses. You're paying bills, you're eating, you've got a roof over your head, but at the end of the month, there's basically nothing left. Maybe a few dollars, maybe nothing at all. And the scary part is, one unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, even just a busted phone, can completely derail you. You're not building anything. You're just treading water. Here's a stat that should stop you in your tracks. According to a Federal Reserve report, nearly 37% of Americans say they would struggle to cover an unexpected $400 expense. $400, that's not a crisis, that's a Tuesday. And yet, more than a third of people in one of the wealthiest countries on earth are one minor inconvenience away from financial panic. That's level 1 in a nutshell. Now, most people think the solution to level 1 is just earn more money. And yeah, income matters. But here's the thing. I've seen people earning 6 figures who are still trapped in level 1 energy because they never changed the behavior. They just upgraded the lifestyle. More income, bigger apartment, nicer car, more subscriptions, fancier restaurants, and somehow still nothing left at the end of the month. That's actually one of the biggest traps in personal finance. It even has a name, lifestyle inflation, and it quietly kills more wealth-building dreams than almost anything else. So the escape from level 1 isn't just earning more. It's learning to hold on to what you earn, full stop. Level 2 is where most people end up landing, and this is actually where things get interesting and a little dangerous. Level 2 is what I call the stability zone. You've got a steady income. You're paying your bills on time. You might even have a savings account with some money in it. Things feel okay. And this is exactly where the trap is set. Because okay is comfortable, and comfortable is the enemy of wealth. Think about it like this. Imagine you're hiking up a mountain. Level 1 is struggling at the bottom, slipping on rocks, barely moving forward. Level 2 is this nice flat ledge partway up. You're not struggling anymore. There's shade. There's a little breeze. It feels good, so you stop, you set up camp, and years go by. And you never look up to realize you've only made it a third of the way up the mountain. Most people spend the best years of their financial lives camped out on level 2. They've got a decent job, a car that works, maybe a small emergency fund, and they're comfortable enough that they stop pushing. The urgency is gone, and without urgency, change is almost impossible. The data backs this up. Studies in behavioral economics consistently show that humans are loss-averse, meaning we feel the pain of losing something about twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. So when you've gone from level 1 chaos to level 2 stability, your brain basically says, don't risk this. Hold on to what you have. And that instinct, while totally natural, is quietly sabotaging your future. Here's what separates people who break out of level 2 from those who don't. The people who move up develop what I like to call a not enough mentality. Not in a toxic, never satisfied way, but in a healthy, purposeful way. They look at their comfortable plateau and say, this is a good rest stop, but it's not the destination. They stay grateful but hungry, and they start making moves. Now, level 3. This is where things get real, and this is the level most people never reach. Not because it's impossible, but because it requires a shift that most people aren't willing to make. Level 3 is what I call the asset zone. Let me explain what I mean by that. At level 1 and level 2, your money comes from working. You show up, you put in hours, you get paid. Simple exchange. Your time for money. And here's the problem with that. You only have 24 hours in a day. There's a hard ceiling on how much you can earn if the only tool you're using is your labor. Level 3 is when you start building assets. Things that generate money even when you're not working. A rental property that pays you rent every month. A stock portfolio that pays dividends. A business that runs without needing you there every second. A digital product that sells while you sleep. When you start building assets, you start to break the time for money ceiling. And that's when wealth becomes real. Here's why this is so powerful. Let me give you a quick illustration. Imagine two people, let's call them Mike and James. Same age, same starting salary. Mike keeps working his job, spends most of what he earns, saves a little here and there, never really builds anything. James, on the other hand, lives a bit leaner in his 30s. He invests consistently. He buys a small rental property. He puts money into index funds every single month, rain or shine. 20 years later, Mike has his salary, which sure, might have grown a bit with raises. But the moment Mike stops working, the income stops. James has built a machine. His investments are generating returns. His property is paying him. His money is literally working for him while he's on vacation, while he's sleeping, while he's watching his kids grow up. That's the power of level 3. And according to research from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the top 10% of wealth holders in the US own nearly 70% of all financial assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, assets. The bottom 50%, they own less than 3%. Let that sink in. This isn't just about income inequality. It's about asset inequality. And the people at the top understand something most people don't. Wealth isn't built by earning. It's built by owning. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because most people hear this and they say, okay, I get it. I need to invest. But I barely have anything left to invest after bills. And look, I hear you. But I want to challenge that thinking just a little bit. Because in a lot of cases, the issue isn't that you have nothing left to invest. The issue is the order in which you're doing things. Most people earn money, spend what they need, and then try to save or invest whatever's left, which, most months, is basically nothing. The wealth builders flip this. They earn money, they invest first, even if it's a small amount, and then they live on what's left. It's called paying yourself first. And it sounds simple, but it's actually a massive psychological shift, because it forces your lifestyle to adjust to what's left, rather than letting your lifestyle expand to eat everything you earn. Even if you start with just $50 a month, you're building the habit. You're telling your brain, investing is not optional. It's not what I do if there's anything left over. It's what I do, period. And habits, compounded over time, are more powerful than almost any financial strategy. Speaking of compounding, let's talk about it for a second, because I don't think people truly feel how insane this concept is. If you invest $200 a month starting at 25, with an average annual return of 8%, by the time you're 65, you'd have over $700,000, $200 a month. Most people spend that on dining out without blinking, but invested consistently over 40 years, it becomes life-changing money. That's not a get-rich-quick scheme. That's math doing its thing over time. The people stuck at level 2 see investing as something they'll get to eventually. The people at level 3 understand that every month you wait is compound interest working against you instead of for you. Time is the ingredient you can never buy back. Alright, so let's keep moving. Level 4, what I call the freedom zone. This is where your passive income starts to match or exceed your expenses. This is the actual definition of financial freedom, by the way. Not I'm rich. Not I have a Lamborghini. Financial freedom simply means your money works hard enough that work becomes optional. Think about what that means for a second. You wake up on a Monday morning and you don't have to go anywhere unless you want to. You don't answer to a schedule that someone else set. You don't stress about losing your job because even if your job disappeared tomorrow, you'd be fine. That's level 4. And it's absolutely achievable. It's just not common because getting here requires years of level 3 behavior, consistently building assets, resisting lifestyle inflation, staying patient when everyone around you is spending. The people who make it to level 4 are usually the ones who made peace with delayed gratification in their 30s and 40s. They watch friends take fancy vacations, drive luxury cars, upgrade to bigger houses, and they held steady. Not because they were miserable or depriving themselves, but because they had a vision. They knew what they were building. And the vision was bigger than the short-term pleasure. Level 5. I'll just touch on this briefly, because honestly, it's not the point of this video. Level 5 is generational wealth. This is when your assets have grown to the point where your children and their children will benefit from the decisions you're making today. Legacy wealth, multi-generational impact. Most people never get here, but the foundation for level 5 is always laid at level 3. That's why level 3 is the turning point. It's the hinge that everything else swings on. So let's come back to the real question. What does it actually take to break through to level 3? First thing, you have to get honest about where you are right now. Not where you hope you are. Not where you think you should be. Where you actually are. Are you still primarily dependent on your job income? Do you have any assets generating money for you? Even a little? If the answer is no, that's okay. You're probably at level 1 or level 2. And knowing that is not a defeat. Knowing that is the first step. Second thing, you have to start before you're ready. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who say, I'll start investing once I pay off this one thing, or once I get the raise, or once the kids are older. And I understand the logic. But the truth is, there's always a reason to wait. Always. The people who build wealth are the people who start now, even imperfectly, and adjust as they go. Third, keep your lifestyle smaller than your income for longer than feels comfortable. This is boring advice, I know, but it's the most powerful thing you can do. Because the gap between what you earn and what you spend is the fuel that gets poured into your asset engine. The bigger the gap, the faster you build. And fourth, learn to think in decades, not months. The mindset shift from, what can I afford this month, to what am I building over the next 10 years, is genuinely one of the most transformative things you can do for your financial life. It changes how you see every decision, every coffee, every raise, every investment, every expense. They all become choices about which level you want to live at. Look, I'll be real with you. The system isn't always set up to make this easy. There are people who are genuinely struggling, where level 1 isn't a choice. It's the reality of the circumstances they're in. And I want to acknowledge that. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness, because awareness is what creates agency, and agency is what makes change possible. But if you're someone who has income, even modest income, and you're still stuck at level 1 or level 2, the most likely explanation isn't the economy, it isn't bad luck, it isn't that wealth is only for other people. The most likely explanation is that no one ever showed you the map, and now you have it. Most people never reach level 3, not because they can't, but because they didn't know it existed, or they thought it was for someone else, or they kept waiting for a better time that never came. You don't have to be most people. The moment you plant your first seed, your first investment, your first asset, your first dollar working for you, instead of just passing through your hands, you've crossed into something different, something most people around you will never experience. And I genuinely want that for you. So do one thing, just one. Before this day is over, open that investment account. Set up that automatic transfer. Read one page of one book on money. Do something, because wealth isn't built in a moment. It's built in 1,000 small decisions made consistently over time. And the best time to start the first one of those decisions, right now.